In this module, we'll look at project permissions in team-managed projects. There are 4 significant differences between company-managed and team-managed projects. Let's review these differences. First, the ability to create a team-managed project is available to anyone granted the Create Team-Managed Project global permission. For company-managed projects, a user must have the administered Jira global permission. However, and this is an important distinction, in order to create a team-managed project, the user must also have Jira Software product access. Second, users who do not have any administration permission can fully manage a team-managed project. This is different to users with project administration level permissions in company-managed projects who are only able to manage a limited subset of configurations. Third, the project's permission settings cannot be shared with other projects. However, company-managed projects can share configurations with other projects. And finally, there's no anonymous access to team-managed projects. Whereas anonymous users can potentially access company-managed projects. Let's look at team-managed project access. There are 3 main settings that determine a user's ability to access and interact with functionality in a team-managed project. First, their product access. Users need Jira Software product access to create a team-managed project. Users also need Jira Software product access to fully interact with the project's functionality. Second, the project's access level. A user may or may not be able to access the project due to access settings. They also may have limited access to the project because of access settings. And third, the user's role in the project. A user's role in a project will determine what they can do in it. We'll look at these 3 settings next. In order to create a team-managed project, a user must have the Create Team-Managed Projects global permission. They must also have Jira Software product access. When a user creates a team-managed project, they can determine the access level for the project. It can be open, limited, or private. Let's look at those access levels in more detail. The first option is to set a project access level to open. When a project is open, anyone on your Jira site can view, create, and edit issues in your project. With this access level, Jira would give any of the users who log into your site the member role in the project. The second option is to create a limited project. In a limited project, any users who have access to the site can view and comment on the issues in the project. They would not be able to edit those issues or create new issues. At the limited access level, Jira gives any user the viewer role in the project. Finally, a project can have private access. Only Jira administrators, the users in the project's administrator's role, a role which we will explain in upcoming slides, and people who are then added to the project can access the project. Nobody else has access to it or its issues via any search results. Before we look at project roles and the permissions granted to the role, let's look at the permissions that are available in team-managed projects. There are 4 categories of project permissions in team-managed projects. These categories group together sets of permissions for administering, managing, working on, and collaborating on project issues. Let's look at these in further detail. The Administer Project Issues permission grant users administration-level permissions for the project. There is just one permission in this category, the Administer the Project permission. The next category of permissions are the Manage Project Issues category. The Manage Project Issues permissions is a grouping of permissions that allow users to manage issues and interact with project-related functionality, such as managing sprints. The permissions included in this category include a list of permissions such as deleting issues, work entries, and so on. And then there are the Work on Project Issues permissions. These are permissions that users need in order to work and collaborate fully on issues. The permissions included in this category include a list of permissions such as assigning issues, editing issues, and linking issues. And then there are the Collaborate on Project Issues permissions. These are the least impactful permissions. The permissions included in this category include a list of permissions, such as adding attachments and watchers. It's important to know these permissions when you're managing access to your team-managed project and assigning users to roles. By default, there are 3 roles, and they are assigned these groupings of permissions. Let's look at the 3 levels of role membership that are available in Team Managed. At a high level, there are these 3 roles: administrator, member, and viewer. It is also possible to create a custom role if you have very specific requirements for project access. It's not possible to edit roles, rename them, or change the permissions that are granted to these roles. However, it is possible to create a new custom role. You can give it any name and grant that role the permissions of your choice, using a combination of the 4 permission categories we covered earlier. We'll begin with the administrator role. This role gives users every permission in the project. This role will also grant a user the ability to administer the project, so they can manage access and project features. The person who created the project will automatically have this role. Users granted this role have the ability to perform all actions in this project. It's important to note that users must also have Jira Software Product Access in order to perform all administrative operations. Without Jira Software Product Access, users will be able to perform some, but not all administration-level tasks. They can update project details, manage automations, create issue types, and manage fields. Users with the project role of administrator who do not have Jira Software Product Access will be granted every permission that's listed under Manage, Work, and Collaborate, but not any permission that involves Jira Software functionality, such as the ability to manage project sprints. The next role to consider is the member role. With the member role, users are granted the permissions they need for working in the project, including creating, viewing, and editing issues and more. They are granted all permissions from the Work On and Collaborate On categories and are also able to edit any due date, manage sprints, and access development tools. It's important to understand the permissions granted to users with the member role. When projects are created and the project access is set to open, all users who log into your site are granted the member role in the project. It's important to note that users must also have Jira Software Product Access in order to interact with the product fully. Without this access, they will not be able to interact with any software-specific features, such as boards, so they can't, for example, manage sprints. And then we have the viewer role. The viewer role grants users permission to view but not edit issues. They can add comments and attachments, but not edit issues. In terms of project access, this is the least impactful role. It's important to understand the permissions granted to users with the viewer role. When projects are created and the project access is set to limited, all users who log into your site are granted the viewer role in the project. If none of these roles meet your requirements, you can create a custom role for the project to which you can grant specific permissions. With a custom role, a user with the administration role or a user granted the administer the project permission, along of course with Jira Software Product Access, can create a custom project role. Then users or groups can be granted this role. Let's look at a use case dealing with those different permissions, roles, and access levels. If you would like to walk through the use case, you can follow it using the PDF solution guide that we provided. Paul is unsure if he should use a company-managed or a team-managed project to manage his product. Which requirement necessitates the use of a company-managed project? A. Customers must be able to view issues without logging in. B. Paul must be able to manage access to the project. C. Paul must be able to administer the project. D. Only 5 users can edit issues in the project. The answer is A. Only company-managed projects allow for anonymous access,